Chris Christie went on This Week with George Stephanopoulos, and he came out strongly against free college.
So the gloves are off. I can see that right now. One of her biggest applause lines yesterday when she talked about Americans going to college without drowning in debt. The other Democratic candidates already come out for debt-free college education. You took on that idea this week on your visit to Iowa. What is wrong with it, and what's your alternative?
My alternative is we have to start to put market forces on these college costs. George, I pay for 2 college tuitions right now, one at Princeton and one at Notre Dame. And I can tell you that they're the most opaque bills you'll ever see in your life. If you got that bill for dinner with that little bit detail, you wouldn't pay it. You'd send it back. Yet for college, we pay it. They need to start telling us exactly what they're spending their money on, the money we give them. And secondly, we need to start to say, unbundle that. So if a child doesn't want to pay for all these different things in college, they should be able to select it. That'll tell colleges what they don't need to provide, and we shouldn't have to pay for the things that we don't want to use. That'll help to contain costs. But the idea of free college for everybody, there's nothing free in this world. We need to earn what we get.
Funny how that wasn't your position when it came to bailing out Wall Street. Weird. Funny how that's not your position when it comes to giving more money to defense contractors. Again, that's weird. Funny how that wasn't your position when Hurricane Sandy hit and you were begging FEMA for 100% reimbursement. Again, weird. So things are free when you want them to be free, but when you don't want them to be free, like with college, then they're not free. Okay, here's the bottom line. If you're more morally outraged at the idea of debt-free college than at war, your moral compass is broken. And remember, Chris Christie has been on the page, talking about being hawkish on foreign policy, talking about increasing NSA spying and stuff like that. So in that area, oh my God, he doesn't give a goddamn, and he doesn't even mention the deficit or debt or fiscal conservatism, or he doesn't even mention how much money it costs. He's just on the page of doing all those things. But when it comes to free college, debt-free college, oh, we can't afford it, and we got to do more free market. Making everything for profit's the answer. Chris, we just did a story. It's a study from the journal Health Affairs on healthcare in America. 49 of the 50 most expensive hospitals in America that price gouge the fuck out of their customers, out of their patients, they're for-profit. There was an average markup of 1,013% over what Medicare pays. So this is what happens when you make everything, more free market. Let's base it more on free market principles so people can screw over the American public. That would be fantastic. Now you want to do that when it comes to college too? They just shut down Corinthian colleges because it was a for-profit scam. They were lying about job placement that they get for students when they graduate and stuff like that. Come to find out, when it is for-profit, when it is more capitalist, it works out much worse for the people. But what's his answer? Do more of that. I'm, more on the side of that. Again, you have to understand that when Bernie Sanders calls for universal education, when other progressive Democrats call for it, it's not some extremist communist idea. A lot of European nations already have it, and they love those systems. And it's not even necessarily a matter of raising taxes. I mean, you can do, like Bernie Sanders wants to do, a transaction tax for the richest of the richest on Wall Street. That makes sense. But you don't even necessarily need to raise taxes to fund this. Just reallocate the money from all the ridiculous wars we're in and all the corporate welfare benefits we give and put it towards education. I mean, honestly, if you prioritize shit and you're still prioritizing something like the war on terror, which has been an abysmal failure over educating your population, not only do I question your morality, I question your intelligence. Like, you're a really silly person. And finally, how's this for irony? Chris Christie's dad used the GI Bill. Now, to George Stephanopoulos' credit, he brings that up to Chris Christie. He's like, your dad used the GI Bill. Why not offer those same kind of benefits to everybody? And he's like, we do. Stephanopoulos is like, huh, what the fuck? And then he goes on to, has verbal diarrhea all over the set, and they just move on to the next thing because that's how these Sunday shows work. But Chris, that is not true. If everybody had the same benefits as the GI Bill, if everybody in America had that, we wouldn't have a student loan debt crisis right now, over $1 trillion of debt. And people can't even file bankruptcy on that debt. It's a special kind of debt where you can't really get out of it. So people are paying back student loans into their 50s. And, you know, what's Chris Christie's idea? More of that. More of that. Well, no, Chris, that's not the answer. If you want to create an America that's not only more educated, but a stronger America, an America that down the road is going to be better economically, the way you do that is to take tax dollars and invest in your population through things like healthcare and education, and it works out better in the long run for everybody.